Hello and welcome. This is Ask BQ on BloombergQuint. I am Agam Vakil. If you got questions on equity, this show is perfect for you. Send your questions to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp. You can also call us on 02245404141. And also mail us at askbq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure you do add the Ask BQ hashtag. Before we get into our individual queries, a quick look at the markets. We are looking at an advance of around 1% for the Nifty and the Sensex. Not too much to speak for otherwise, but well, it's looking relatively weak. It hasn't exactly been a great trading day, and this certainly doesn't call for any calls with respect to recovery in the markets. Possible a little bit of I would say short covering, and to a certain extent as well. Well, some may just say this is just one of those sideways consolidating moves before we possibly see a further down move. But I'm going to leave that to the experts. We do have your broader markets which are looking at a little bit of decline, so underperforming the benchmark indices at this point in time. And moving on, as far as the advanced decline ratio is concerned, it's fairly evenly poised between advances and declines. These days, it's not every day that we see 1:1 ratio, considering we are a little more used to one gainer as against many other losers. The Nifty contributors in terms of gainers, we have Reliance Industries, HUL and ITC providing the bulk of the gains. And on the losing end, we have the banking index, essentially Kotak Mahindra Bank, ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank declining, coming off. Let's also take a look at the broader market stocks and see which one is moving. So we do, of course, have Yes Bank, and it continues to move higher, but that's because of the lockdown in terms of selling. We have Erspun India and Kesoram Industries, among others, which are advancing. And in terms of losers, so of course we have Lakshmi Machine Works, Aurobindo Pharma and Corporation Bank, which are also looking at a recovery. In terms of losers, we have Balrampur Chini, Z Entertainment, Future Retail, among many, which are looking at some amount of weakness. Quest Corps, TVS, Sri Chakra and Just Dial. It's time to get in our two experts for today. We have Aditya Agarwal of Yes Securities and T.S. Hariyar of HRBV Client Solutions, who are here to answer all your queries. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the show. Aditya, I'll start with you on your view on the benchmark indices here on. How would you address them? What's the way forward?
Good afternoon, Akhil, and good afternoon to all our viewers. So coming back to indices, one good part is my index is managing to hold on to the lows of Friday last week that we witnessed. So that is one healthy sign as far as the bulls are concerned. 8555 is holding on in trade. Yesterday we held on to 61.8%, but in morning trade we did give away that. However, we recovered pretty sharply, and we are back in the trading in the green. Traders need to watch out for 9400 on the upside. If that is taken out decisively, my sense is this rally will have more legs on the upside to levels of 96 to about 9800. I do not rule out the possibility of a 10,000 again, but yes, 9400 at the moment is acting as a resistance, and that needs to be taken out. One key thing to note, Agam, is the IVs are falling. So what I witness is at the money call and put options are witnessing a fall in the IVs. So one is that is a very healthy sign if we're looking for an intermediate bottom on the Nifty and the market overall. So IVs declining is a healthy sign for the bulls going ahead.
Okay. Well, on that note, we move on and start taking our queries. And Mr. Hariyar, I'll bring you in on this conversation. We have Rakesh on WhatsApp. He wants to know if this is the right time to enter IndusInd Bank. It's one of those banks which is seeing the steepest correction. It continues to fall today as well. Your view here, Mr. Hariyar?
No, see, I think it will be a little too adventurous, because apparently there is more to it than meets the eye. Because what I understand about IndusInd Bank is that they also have similar problems like divergence with what the RBI has said, exposure to a lot of troubled groups like Dewan Housing, Jet Airways. So I think we need to get a much clearer picture on the asset book, and then we should look at buying the stock. I think at this point of time, you are getting HDFC Bank at 13-14 times earnings. So I don't know why somebody would really venture out and try and buy a IndusInd Bank at these levels.
Fair enough. Mr. Hariyar, can you come in on Marico as well? We have Farid Qazi, who's also written on WhatsApp, who wants a long-term view on Marico.
So we like the stock, See, the problem was, I think, last couple of months there were some kind of issues with the stock, but I think that seems to have been overcome. The stock, incidentally, is one of the few FMCG stocks that has not gone towards its lows. So I think its core businesses like its coconut oil business that are doing extremely well. So I would believe that if you have a long-term view, then definitely Marico is a stock that should be in your portfolio.
Okay, let's move in and take a handful of queries which are coming to us on YouTube as well. We have a query coming in on from. All right, we're just going to take one more technical query actually. We have Faizan who's written to us. He says he holds 100 shares of rights at 303. Wants to know if he should hold or book losses. Let's take a look at rights and see where it's currently trading at. And okay, so it's 261 right now. It's about 40 points away from the mark, his entry level. Aditya, how would you help Faizan out?
So it has gone through a correction in line with the markets and headline indices. But overall, stock has bounced back from the sharp lows of 210, which was seen on Friday. 240 is acting as a support, intermediate support, Agam. So my suggestion would be hold on to the stock with a stop at 240, and you might see a pullback rally in rights to levels of 290 to about to 300 on the upside. So 240 should be a stop loss, and hold on to it.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll also take a question on SBI. We have Deepak who holds 130 shares. He hasn't mentioned his entry price in SBI. So Aditya, I'll take you up on SBI as well. Wants to know what can be done with it. It's currently at 224.
I think it's a very good buy, Agam. 180 was a very good support for the stock. It was a long-term trendline support. If I join major lows which were formed post 2008, that was spot on at the lows which SBI made on Friday, which was 184. So my sense is there could be a temporary bottom as far as SBI is concerned. One should go ahead and look to accumulate the stock on declines till levels of probably 200, 210 also on the downside, with a strict stop loss at 180, and look for an upside target of minimum 270 to about 280 in the coming times.
Okay, boss wants to know, can we buy Coal India now? Please suggest if we can actually play the dividend game in this case. Mr. Hariyar, your view, Coal India?
No, again, I think his question is fairly pointed. His question is, can we play the dividend game? Yes, we can play the dividend game. Can we expect capital appreciation? I don't think you're going to get capital appreciation at any point in the near future. So I think it could be a very, very long wait. But yes, if you want to buy the stock, hold it for dividends of 9-10% yield, I think it's a very good stock.
Okay, Mr. Hariyar, Arpit Maheshri wants to know, he's bought Mahindra EPC and at 105. And he's a long-term investor, but he doesn't know what to do with this one. Mahindra EPC is currently at 94, 95, so he's not making too much of a loss right now. But and it's not a very liquid counter either, from what I see. But your view on this one?
I don't see any problem in holding on, because the stock is fundamentally fairly sound, and I think the current price is not too far away. So I would say you should probably hold on to the stock at this point of time.
Okay. Vijay Lakshmi wants a view on Manappuram Finance, bought at 155. Aditya, I'll take this one up with you. What's your view here?
So, Agam, we've seen a sharp fall in the gold prices in the last few trading sessions, which has led to a sharp decline in Manappuram as well. So the rally was led by a rally in the gold prices. Now the correction is also led by the correction in the gold prices. Having said that, it's broken its multiple trendline supports. It's trading below its 200-day moving average as well. I see more weakness in the stock with an immediate support somewhere between 107 to about 105. So if anybody's bought into the stock, this should be a stop loss. If you're looking to get into the stock fresh, just wait it out for some more time. Probably closer to 105 will provide you a good entry point, not at current levels.
Okay, we take a question up from Sudarshan, and the question is on Relaxo and Polycab. Can we buy these? Well, keeping in mind that earlier these were lost out on, at least as far as Sudarshan's entry is concerned. Mr. Hariyar, your view on Relaxo and Polycab?
See, to me, both look good. Relaxo again. It's been a multi-bagger. If you look at the last 8 to 10 years of the stock, I think it's been an absolute multi-bagger. I don't know, probably it's I think 100 or 150 times kind of a multi-bagger in the last 10 years. So it's been a great performer. I think it's in a business where there is a gradual organization happening, so I think Relaxo would be a great beneficiary. Clearly, I think from a long-term view, Relaxo looks good. Polycab, I think, is a slightly different story. It's in a very, very niche electrical goods space, which also has a lot of competition in the unorganized space, but then it is gradually taking over to be the next kind of a Havers, and Havers is having a lot of problems with its acquisition of Lloyd, so I think a lot of investors are looking at Polycab as the next Havers. So yes, to me, both stocks look good.
Okay, Sagar Damani has a question on the Nifty, and of course, Sagar, we've addressed this on a technical level where Aditya suggests that he is looking at a resistance around the 9400 mark, but he is fairly constructive at this point in time. I'm not certain if, he is considering the levels of 6500, 7200. Aditya, are you by any chance looking at a possibility of those levels, 6500 to 7200?
Agam, given the volatility, I cannot rule that out at the moment, at a future date, but not at current date. Probably, as I told, looking at the fall in the IV, sharp decline in IVs, and the way 8500 has held on, we made multiple attempts to breach that level or even come close to that in trade yesterday. In trade today, there was a morning panic, and we formed a bottom. In fact, we didn't even get anywhere close to that low on Friday, which had formed 8555. And coming to exact levels, if I draw a Fibonacci from 2009 lows to the highs of 2020, if I consider that a bull run, 38.2% Fibonacci retracement was spot on the low which we made on Friday. So my sense is this low will not be broken too easily. It will take some time or probably some news or something to break that low. As of now, I'm quite confident that 8555 will hold on for some time at least, and we might just scale slightly higher levels to closer to about 10,000 or 9,800, if not beyond 10,000.
Okay. Mr. Hariyar, Devendra wants to know at what levels should we start buying 3 stocks? 1, Hindustan Unilever, 2, Kotak Mahindra Bank, and 3, Bajaj Finance.
See, I think all 3 are stocks that are probably not corrected as much as the auto or metal stocks, but definitely I think at this correction, to me, all 3 stocks look to be good buys. Again, I'm not talking about very short-term punt because these are fairly long-term plays, but take a Kotak Bank, I think down about 25%, take I think Hindustan Lever down about 16%, take Bajaj Finance 20%. I think these are fairly good entry levels for all the 3 stocks, and don't worry too much about P ratios. I think these are fairly good entry levels.
Okay, Mr. Hariyar, can you come in on your view on IRCTC? We clearly have seen disruption with respect to travel now, given the virus outbreak. But what's your view on IRCTC now? We have a question from Hemant.
See, I think people who are smart long-term investors should use the correction to get in. And let's understand, I don't think people are going to stop traveling by train or by air. These things will come back. And, IRCTC doesn't have the problem that an Indigo or a SpiceJet has, where they've got assets, they've got lease rentals, and their flights are going empty. They don't have that kind of a problem. IRCTC is a service company. So probably they take a little bit of hit for the next 10, 15 days, and then they come back. I think the correction ideally should be used by people because it is still quite attractive in valuation terms. So people should use this correction to actually get into IRCTC.
Okay. All right. We have a question from Lalit Chaudhary. He's bought Vodafone Idea at 6.5. Wants to know if he should hold or exit. I'll take this one up with Aditya, but before that, if we can take a look at, Vodafone Idea and see where it's currently trading at, to give us a better idea of where it's being placed. Okay, so it's at 5.65. Aditya, the entry price is 6.5. Your view?
So Agam, I generally avoid taking questions on Idea, and I just say it's a penny stock. But since I see a good rally in the stock and which is backed by volume, so I'll just answer the query. So one thing to notice is from 2018 onwards, from the time the stock has broken its 200 DMA, it has never crossed its 200 DMA. And in trade yesterday, it made a dash towards its 200 DMA, which is somewhere around $7, but it did not cross that. So it is very important for the stock to sustain above 7 rupees and continuously trade above 7 for any further leg to this rally which we are seeing. However, since he's bought the stock already, I would recommend put a stop loss somewhere between 4.85 that is an immediate support. If that is breached, my sense is it will again claw back to levels of 3 and probably 4 or sub 3 as well. So at the moment, your stop loss should be 4.85 and hold on to it and hope that it crosses 7 and sustains beyond 7. Then in that case, your targets will be 9 and 11.
Okay, Sahas, there's also a question on whether or not to enter Kotak Mahindra Bank. Well, Sahas, Mr. Arya has already said that these are not bad levels to start nibbling into companies, especially pedigreed blue chip companies which have a very large market capitalization on the Nifty 50. But our next question is, from Ujjwal Kumar. He wants to know if he can accumulate HDFC, AMC, and LIC Housing Finance, but his horizon is 1 year. Mr. Hariyar, would you buy into these companies? And also, a related question, how do you see markets pan out for the next 1 year?
See, I'll come to the markets part later. Let's talk about HDFC AMC. See, for me, LIC housing is a strict no. I think the entire housing / NBFC space is still going to see a lot of pain. So I would be off LIC housing. HDFC AMC, yes, after the correction, to me, the stock looks to be a good buy because ultimately your mutual fund assets are going to grow. Your SIPs are, stable at about 8,500 per month. So I don't see too much of an issue. I would probably go in and buy HDFC AMC. Coming to the stock market, see, honestly, 1 year is too long a time. I would be happy if I can talk about the next 1 month. I think my immediate priority would be for the VIX to come down. VIX at 55, 65 is not the levels that markets can bottom out. So typically when you see this kind of a market, and I was listening to Aditya's view, and I totally agree that 8555 should be the worst case scenario. And that's what normally happens. When the stock hits a lower circuit, that tends to be the worst case scenario. But then it never shows a V-shaped recovery. It gradually grinds down till the last bull is out of the market. And after that, the market starts picking up. So, we have to wait for the VIX to come down. That is when we can actually take a view on the market from here.
Okay. Well, let's take up a question on Eicher Motors, a question from YRP. I'm going to take this one up with Aditya right now. It's currently at 17,280. I believe YRP has entered Eicher Motors at 19,500. So a tad away from entry price. Aditya, how would you help him out?
Definitely, the trend has weakened for Eicher Motors, but an interesting fact out here is it has made multiple bottoms somewhere around 15,000 odd levels, Agam. So I see a double bottom somewhere between 15,100 rupees on Eicher Motors, and from there stock has bounced back, and it is trading with gains of 5% in trade today. So my sense is there can be a short covering rally as far as Eicher Motors is concerned. Most of the auto stocks are showing some signs of recovery. The two-wheeler stocks are also showing some signs of recovery. So my sense is you can have a pop in Eicher Motors back to levels of 19,500, about 20,500 on the upside. So hold on to it, put a strict stop loss at 15,000. Probably you can see some bit of a recovery out here, at least to levels of 20,000, if not more.
Okay, Aditya, come in on Gujarat Gas as well. We have a question from Akshay Mittal. He wants an entry price on Gujarat Gas. So actually two questions. One, would you recommend him buying Gujarat Gas? And two, if so, at what levels?
So yes, stock has witnessed a significant correction in the recent times. I would just wait out for some more time, Agam, before I get into Gujarat Gas, because at current levels there can be at least a 5 to 6% more downside to it. So just wait it out for some more time and then get into the stock.
Okay. We have a question from Ritvik Arora. Needs a fundamental view on Nippon Life AMC. Mr. Hariyar?
Again, I think the same logic should apply. The only thing I'm a little worried about Nippon is they seem to be having a lot of exposure to all these, groups like a Yes Bank or, you name any kind of troubled company, and they seem to be having an exposure to the debt. So I don't know how much more of that kind of debt they have, but I would believe that after the sharp correction that the stock has seen, it should probably make a good bet. But honestly, given a choice, I would still prefer an HDFC AMC over a Nippon AMC.
Okay. Mr. Arya, can you come in on Z Entertainment as well? We have Guru Reddy who wants a view here and wants to know whether or not this correction can continue in Z Entertainment.
See, It largely depends on what is going to happen to the group investments. And I think if the group investments go bad, then Z could even come down to zero. So I think that is technically possible. I don't know whether it will happen immediately, whether it will happen over time. So the whole problem is that today there is an absolute lack of understanding of what is happening at Z. The core management is out. We don't know whether they're still managing, they're not managing. So till the time there is clarity, nobody really wants to get in. And so I don't think I would even want to take a view on the stock, because we need to get clarity on the group companies' liabilities on the infrastructure front. We need to get clarity on who is going to run the show and how is the shareholding pattern going to be. So unless there is clarity in all that, I don't think I would be too keen to even look at the stock.
Okay, Aditya, a view on Pidilite. We have Sahas Jain who says that Pidilite has not corrected as much as the rest of the market. Should I enter at current levels? It's up 7% today and at around 1580. Aditya, your view?
It's a strong trending stock, Agam, and definitely makes checks all the tick boxes for a buy recommendation. And it has tested its 200 DM, and from there it's bounced back beautifully. So yes, you can start getting in, nibbling into Pidilite, but just don't go all in at one go. Probably stagger it over phases, and on the downside, accumulate till 1400 on the downside. My sense is those will give you good buying averages on the downside, and then you can look for levels of 1700 to about 2000 on the upside.
I would actually say the same for Nestle India as well, which is the other query that we have. Aditya, I'll take this one up with you. Akshay wants to know if these are good levels to enter Nestle.
Definitely, again, similar strategy you should adopt as I recommended for Pidilite. Don't go in all in one go. These are stocks which generally don't correct, and they have corrected to some amount, leading to the market corrections. They can correct further. I don't rule out a further correction in Nestle. On the downside, 13,000 is the level till where I would like to accumulate. So just start nibbling in from current levels till 13,000 on the downside, and you will have a good buying average on the downside.
Okay, Sandeep Kumar wants to know what if it is a good time to start investing in the Nifty 50 index fund. Of course, I reckon that this is the passive investment that Sandeep is talking about. Mr. Harrier, would you recommend going and starting, well, perhaps in a staggered manner, buying the Nifty 50 ETF?
I think it's a fabulous idea. We have been recommending to a lot of people not an index fund, but rather an index ETF. And the reason we are recommending index ETF is that the cost of an index ETF is lower than an index fund. And number two, in index ETF, you can also make the best of intraday volatility, which you can't do in the case of an index fund. So, we have been telling people that if you have got a target of, let us say, investing X, then start putting, 20% today, then probably 20% another correction. Phase it out. But I think we may not be at the bottom, but we are close to the bottom. So this is the range that you must start accumulating these kind of index ETFs.
Okay, fair enough. So choose an ETF as against an index fund. It's preferable and it's cheaper, according to Mr. Harrier. But we'll move on and ask, Reliance Industries. This is a question we get almost every day, a fundamental view here. Mr. Harrier, I'll come back to you on this one.
See, there are a lot of question marks. I think telecom has been doing well, but the whole problem for Reliance now is that their biggest cash cow, which was the refining business, I think that has come under pressure. Gross refining margins are probably down to, I think, one of the lowest they've been in the last few years. So all this is putting pressure. Now, the whole problem is that the entire telecom and retail story has been funded by money from refining and petchem. And today, both of them are under pressure. So I think that is what is actually putting pressure on Reliance. So unless the oil prices pick up, I think crude at $30 is not a level where RIL can really make money. So I think crude has to get up beyond 50. That is when RIL would be a good stock to start looking at.
Okay, we have a viewer who has who's in a little bit of trouble on Exide Industries. Deepak Goel has a huge position at 200 rupees a share. It's currently quoting at 142. Aditya, do you think there could be any relief for the viewer?
So stock has witnessed a significant correction, Agam, over a period of time. From 200, it's witnessed this single one-way slide. The only good thing is it's holding on to the Friday's lows and showing some sort of a consolidation. 150 is a stiff resistance. I want the stock to sustain beyond 150 for any type of recovery to materialize out here. So 150, watch out closely for 150 on the upside, and on the downside 130 should be a stop loss. 125, 130 should be a stop loss. If that is broken on the downside, I don't think so it makes sense to hold on to the position for too long. Beyond 150, yes, you can see levels of 170 to about 190 also, but that will take some time.
Okay. We have another query on ITC. It's from Wasim Akram. Wants to know what you can do with this one. Its valuations are at multi-year lows, and unlike what we have seen in case of its peers. Mr. Hariyar, would you buy ITC at these levels?
See, I've been a long time anti-ITC investor, so I've never bought ITC, never recommended ITC. But having said that, I must admit that the current prices, I think finally the stock is looking a little attractive. I'm not saying that it's a great business, but I think at the current market pricing 160, 170, in my view, the downside risk is, I think, as good as probably 5 or 10%. So definitely, yes, if you want to take a trade, I don't recommend investments in ITC, but if you want to take a trade, I think it's a good level to start trading ITC long.
Okay. Aditya, what about Bandhan Bank? We have a question from Divakar Satya. He wants to know what you can do with this one.
It's in trouble, making 52-week lows by every day, every trading session. I don't see any relief rally immediately, though it is trading at oversold levels. But I'm not too sure whether these relief rallies will materialize to any significant gains. On the upside, 300 is a resistance. On the downside, I believe it can slide easily to 250 in a matter of time.
Okay. It's currently trading at 276 to be precise. Hasn't done too much on an intraday basis. Of course, this is against markets which are doing well. Tata Consumer Products is the other query that we have from Manas Agarwal. He hasn't mentioned it, so I'm going to take up a technical one here. Aditya, can you come in on Tata Consumer Products, earlier known as Tata Global Beverages?
Yes, so after a sharp decline from 400 odd levels, stock has managed to recover some part of it from 260 odd levels, but it needs some sort of a time-wise consolidation and time correction before we see any significant upside. On the downside, probably 260, which it's seen on Friday's trading session, should hold. It is still some distance away from those levels. On the upside, 320 is your resistance. So my sense is it will oscillate between that 320 to about 360 on the downside before you see any significant upside move. So you have to wait it out for some time correction. After a price correction, there has to be some time correction, which I believe the stock will go through.
Okay, guys, we are out of time on this show, so I am going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Aditya and Mr. Hariyar, for joining us and helping our viewers with their queries. But remember, we're just a tweet, a post, or a call away, so keep your queries coming in, and we promise to address as many of them through our shows. For all our previous episodes, visit our YouTube channel or website, BloombergQuint.com. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to BloombergQuint.
According to a recent report, women today contribute nearly